There are three panels across the bottom of the screen: Timeline, States, and Notes. We'll start with discussing the timeline. The timeline is a visual representation of the items that are tied to the slide, and it is divided into two major sections. The left side of the panel has a column of eyeballs, a column of lock checkboxes, and a column of item titles. And the right side shows when items will appear. Let's look at each of these items. The eyeballs are used to turn the visibility of that item on and off. When the eyeball is visible, that means that item will be seen. Even though we are using visual terms, the eyeball also affects the slide's audio tracks. If you turn off the eyeball for the audio track, the learner will not hear the track. This also applies to you, the developer. If the eyeball is turned off when you go to preview the slide, that item will not appear on the slide as programmed. So why would you turn something off and make it not visible? As you are working with a slide and its items, you will find that some items may be in front of the item that you are working on and completely covers it up from being seen. You will then turn the item off to allow you to see the desired item. What normally happens, though, is you will then forget to turn the items back on. Something will seem off. Something doesn't appear or is referenced in the audio, but nothing is there. When this happens, go back to your timeline and verify everything is turned on. The second column is the locked column. Normally, everything is unlocked. This will allow you to edit the feature. You will be able to adjust its size and position on the slide, or change its entrance or exit animation, or change its placement on the timeline. But if you select the checkbox and lock it in place, you will lose all ability to work with that item. You won't even be able to select the item on the slide or in the timeline. The third column doesn't seem important, but it is extremely helpful to maintain your sanity, especially when you are trying to sync the component visually to the audio track. Storyline has a default naming system. It will use a generic term and number. The first item of that type will be given the number 1, the second item will be given the number 2, etc. So the timeline will end up being a list of text box 1, text box 2, picture 1, rectangle 1, etc. When you come back to the timeline the next day to continue programming the slide or debugging it, it will be difficult to know which item is which. Each time you insert a new item onto the slide, give it a name that makes sense to you and is easily identifiable, not only by you, but by someone in a couple years who is trying to update your slide. For shapes, I use the name shape type of shape and what the shape is doing, i.e. shape, rectangle, timeline. For text boxes, I'll use text box and a couple keywords from the text, i.e. text box, timeline. You don't have to use this naming structure. Come up with something that makes sense to you and be consistent. At the very bottom of the left portion, you will see a triangle with a slider and then two triangles imposed in front of each other. You can use this slider to zoom in and out of the timeline. Zooming in or sliding the slider to the right will give you a more precise placement of when the item will appear or disappear, while zooming out will give you more of a bird's eye view. The right portion of the panel is the timeline itself. At the very top is the timing for the slide. It will be shown numerically in minutes and seconds. Then beneath the time will be tick marks to show the divisions of each seconds. Each item on the timeline will include a description of that item. Text boxes will include the words in the box, and pictures will show the image's file name. Even though there are these descriptions, it is still recommended to rename the item on the left side of the panel. The way you will know when something will be visible to the learner is the timeline will be gray for that item. If it is white, then it is not visible. Finally, the timeline will always expand to the longest item on the timeline or the last thing to disappear from the timeline.